Hello there and welcome along to this Me vs Maths tutorial, the first in our series on trigonometry in right angle triangles. In the first couple of tutorials we'll just be looking to provide some background information and to introduce some keywords for what is quite a large and complex topic. So, trigonometry is the study of the relationship between angles and sides in triangles. In this first tutorial, all we'll be looking to do is to establish the special names that we give to the sides in a right angle triangle, just like the one shown. However, before we get onto the sides, we'll start by looking at the funny looking symbol at the top, which actually relates to an angle. The symbol in question is called theta, and it's a Greek letter which has come to be commonly used to represent an angle in lots of different things in maths and particularly in triangles. As we know, a triangle has three sides, and these are the names that we can give to the three sides in a right angle triangle. Hypotenuse, which you may well be familiar with already, and what are known as the opposite and adjacent sides. So let's see exactly what these sides are. The hypotenuse is a term that you may have met already studying Pythagoras theory. The hypotenuse is a special name given to the longest side in a right angled triangle, and it's also worth knowing that the longest side will always be opposite the right angle. Next, the side known as opposite is always relative to a particular angle in the triangle. This is sometimes the angle that we're looking for, or in other problems it's opposite an angle that we already know. Finally, we're left with what is known as the adjacent. This is often labelled last and so can be thought of as simply the one left over. However, it's important to know that it's called the adjacent because it is next to both the right angle and the angle that's involved in the question. So that's our three sides, and they're actually quite difficult to describe purely in words, so let's take a look at a couple of examples and see how easy it is to label these sides up. Okay, we'll start with a right angled triangle, and we can see the right angle there in the bottom left hand corner, and the angle at the top has been labelled with that symbol theta. We're going to label this triangle relative to that angle theta. Always start with the hypotenuse. Remember, we said the hypotenuse is the side opposite the right angle, and the arrow shows us which side this is. It's this one here. Next, we'll label what we call the opposite. This is opposite the angle used in the question, which for us is theta. Again, the arrow shows which side is opposite that angle, and we can see it's the side at the bottom here. Now remember, we said the adjacent is the one left over, but just double check that it is next to both the right angle and the angle in the question. If it isn't, then you've made a mistake somewhere, but we're okay, so let's move on. Now it's incredibly important to realise that we can start with the same triangle with the other angle labelled instead and end up with a different outcome. The hypotenuse will still be in the same position because our right angle has not moved, so it will still be this side here. However, the opposite side will now be opposite our new angle theta, so it will now be this side over here, and the adjacent will be the one left over, and it is again next to our right angle and the angle theta in the question. And there's the two triangles we've just labelled up, just to emphasise how the opposite and adjacent sides can vary dependent on which angle is active, if you like, in our question. Let's just look at one last example to consolidate what hopefully we've learnt in this tutorial. So we'll start with the hypotenuse, which is going to be opposite that right angle. Next we have the opposite side, which will be the opposite the active angle in our triangle, so opposite theta here. And finally the adjacent, which we know should be next to the right angle and our active angle, and as we can see here, it is. Okay, that's all we're going to cover in this first tutorial. In the next one, I'll introduce you to what we call the trig identities or trig formulas, or in classrooms across the land, SOHCAHTOA. So I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching as always, and bye for now.